After 18 years of never calling herself my mother, my stepmother suddenly remembered she raised me, right when she needed my apartment. True off my chest. 28M, need to get this off my chest because my family is split, my stepmother, 54F, isn't speaking to me, and I keep asking myself if I'm the villain in this story. I don't think I am. But maybe writing it out will help me figure it out. The background. How I became a boy without a mother. My mother died when I was 8 years old. Cancer. Fast and brutal, the kind that announces itself and then takes everything before you can even process what's happening. 1 year from diagnosis to funeral. I was 7 when she got sick, 8 when she was gone. I remember fragments of her. Her voice reading bedtime stories, making different voices for each character even when she was tired. The smell of her shampoo, something floral, maybe lavender. The way she'd kiss my forehead before school and say, "Make today matter, baby." Then she was gone, and I was a boy with half a family, a grieving father who cried when he thought I couldn't hear, and a hole where a mother used to be. That hole never filled. Not really. It just scarred over. You learned to live around it. 2 years later, my father remarried. I was 10. The new woman was supposed to fill the hole. She tried. Whether she succeeded is a matter of perspective. Specifically, her perspective and mine don't match. The stepmother years. Present but not close. My stepmother entered my life when I was 10 and she was 36. I want to be clear about something before I go further. She wasn't cruel. She didn't abuse me. She didn't neglect me, lock me in closets, withhold food, or do any of the horror story things you read about in other posts. She was present. She cooked dinners. She attended school events. She helped with homework sometimes, sitting at the kitchen table with a patience that felt more dutiful than warm. She remembered my birthday. She made sure I had clean clothes for school. She drove me to soccer practice before I quit soccer because I wasn't any good at it. But there was always a distance. A sense that I was an obligation that came with a man she loved, not a child she'd chosen. I was part of the package, and she accepted the package because she wanted my father. That's not an accusation, that's just reality. Not every step-parent bonds with their stepchild. Not every relationship becomes love. Some remain arrangements. She had no children of her own. I was it. For 8 years, from when I was 10 until I left for college at 18, she was the adult female figure in my house. That's a fact. What that fact means is where we disagree. What I remember, what she claims. I never called her Mom. She asked once, early on. Maybe 6 months after she married my father. We were in the kitchen, and she said, "You know, you could call me Mom if you wanted. I wouldn't mind." I remember exactly what I said. I have a mom. She died. She didn't push it after that. We settled into what we were. She was my father's wife. I was my father's son. We coexisted in the same house, orbited the same man, and maintained a polite arrangement. She did the tasks of mothering without the bond of motherhood. Here's the thing, I appreciated her efforts, even as a child. I knew she didn't have to help with homework. I knew she chose to attend my terrible school plays where I had 3 lines and forgot one of them. I wasn't oblivious to her presence. But appreciation isn't the same as love. Gratitude for effort isn't the same as the bond between parent and child. When I left for college, our contact diminished. Holiday visits when I came home to see my father. Birthday phone calls that lasted maybe 10 minutes. Nothing deep. She was my father's wife more than she was my anything. That's not cruelty. That's just what happens when the connecting person is the bridge. My father was the bridge. Without him in the room, she and I didn't have much to say to each other. My father, the bridge between us. My father was the one who held it together. He loved his second wife, genuinely loved her. And he loved me, his only child, the living reminder of his first wife who died too young. He wanted us to love each other. He encouraged closeness, facilitated conversations, suggested activities we could do together. "Why don't you two go to that movie? I'm tired, but you should go." We went. We sat in the theater. We watched the movie. We drove home and said it was good. That was the extent of it. My father hoped that time would build what arrangement couldn't. It didn't, really. But his presence made the arrangement work. With him alive, there was a reason to stay connected. A family dinner had him at the head of the table, making conversation, bridging silences. A holiday had him organizing, planning, making sure everyone felt included. With him gone, the connection has no anchor. And that's where this story really begins. My adult life, building something mine. After college, I built my life independently. I got a degree in computer science, landed a decent job in IT, and started saving. I was careful with money. Maybe because I grew up knowing that life could change in a year, that a person could be here and then not be here, that security wasn't guaranteed. At 26, I bought an apartment. Nothing fancy, $146,000 in a modest neighborhood, a one-bedroom with good light and thin walls. But it was entirely my own. My down payment, my mortgage, my name on the deed. I didn't ask my father for money. I didn't ask anyone for money. I saved and I bought and I built something. My father was proud. He came to see it, walked through the rooms, nodded at the kitchen, and said, "You did good, son. Your mother would be proud too." I almost cried. He almost never mentioned her. My stepmother came with him. She looked around the apartment and said, "Nice." That was it. Nice. I didn't expect or want her approval. The apartment represented my adult self, separate from the fractured family, built by my own hands, owing nothing to anyone. I didn't know then that she'd eventually want to own it. My father's death. The bridge collapses. 6 months ago, my father died suddenly. Heart attack. No warning, no goodbye, no chance to say anything that mattered. He was 62. He woke up that morning, had coffee, went to mow the lawn because he couldn't sit still, and collapsed in the backyard. My stepmother called 911, but he was gone before they arrived. I was devastated in ways I still can't fully articulate. My father was my last biological family. The link to my dead mother. The only parent who really knew me, who remembered me as a child, who could tell stories about the time I tried to run away at age 4 and made it to the end of the driveway before deciding I was hungry. The funeral was a blur. People in dark clothes saying things I don't remember. My stepmother played the grieving widow, and I say, played, but that's not fair. She was grieving, genuinely. They'd been married 18 years. Whatever I felt about her, she'd lost her husband. He was her husband longer than he was my mother's husband. I gave her space to mourn. I didn't make the funeral about me. I shook hands and accepted condolences and felt hollow. The estate, what I expected, what I didn't. My father's estate was modest. A house with a mortgage, not much equity, a car, some savings, his pension. The will left everything to his wife, standard for a married couple, completely expected, completely reasonable. I had no issue with this. He'd been married to her for almost 2 decades. His assets should go to her. I had my own life, my own apartment, my own finances. I didn't need inheritance. What I didn't expect was her needing my assets. It emerged slowly. About 2 months after the funeral, hints started appearing. She'd mentioned being worried about money during our sparse phone calls. She'd say the house felt too big for one person and expensive to maintain. I thought she was processing grief. Practical concerns are part of that. Then the truth came out. My stepmother's financial situation is bad. My father handled all the money. She didn't realize how stretched they were. The house has a larger mortgage than she thought. The savings are smaller than she assumed. His pension doesn't fully transfer to her. Social Security helps, but not enough. She's 54 years old. She hasn't worked in years, quit her job to focus on the family when she married my father. That was her choice. A reasonable choice at the time, maybe. But it means her employment prospects now are limited. She's not destitute, but she's scared. Scared people make demands. The dinner, where everything changed. About 3 months after the funeral, my stepmother invited me to dinner at the house. To talk about family matters, she said. I went, expecting discussion about my father's belongings, memories, maybe some closure. Maybe she wanted me to have his watch. Maybe she wanted to go through photos together. Instead, she presented a proposal. We were sitting at the dining room table, the same table where I'd eaten hundreds of meals as a teenager. She'd made pot roast, my father's favorite, not mine. She waited until we were almost done eating before she said, "I've been thinking about our situation. You have an apartment. I'm going to struggle with this house. What if we consolidated?" I put down my fork. Consolidated how? You could transfer your apartment to me. I could sell it and this house, buy something smaller outright, and we'd both be more secure. I stared at her. How would I be more secure? I'd lose my apartment. Her explanation, you'd live with me. In the new place. Like family. I raised you, we should be taking care of each other now. You shouldn't be alone in some apartment while your mother struggles. I caught the word. Mother. She'd never called herself that before. In 18 years, she'd never once referred to herself as my mother. It felt strategic, not emotional. A card played at the right moment. "You're not my mother," I said. "Quiet. Not angry yet. I raised you for 8 years. That makes me your mother." "No. It makes you my stepmother." "There's a difference." The escalation, when duty became debt. When I didn't immediately agree to give her my apartment, she escalated. The emotional arguments came out like weapons. "I raised you as my own. 8 years of my life I gave to you. Cooking your meals, washing your clothes, going to your school plays. Your real mother died. I stepped in. I didn't have to. I could have told your father I didn't want a stepchild. But I accepted you. I loved you. And now, when I need help, you're calculating like I'm a stranger." She raised me from 10 to 18. 8 years. She also cooked dinner and attended school events. Those are facts. But here's another fact. We never bonded. She was present without being close. Responsible without being loving. Now she wants payment for a relationship that never existed the way she claims it did. She kept going, 8 years of raising a child. Do you know what that costs? The food, the clothes, the time, the emotional labor. If I'd been a nanny, I'd have been paid thousands of dollars. But I did it for free, out of love, because you were my husband's son. Now I need something back. She started quantifying, putting numbers to years, treating parenting like hourly labor that generates invoices. Your apartment isn't too much to ask for 8 years of mothering. The reality check, saying what we both knew. I tried to present my perspective calmly. I really did. You were married to my father. Raising me was part of that marriage. You weren't my nanny, you were his wife, and I was part of the package. Married couples don't invoice each other's children for caregiving. And you're not my mother. You never wanted to be called that. We both know our relationship was cordial, not loving. Cordial. She exploded. Cordial. I wiped your tears when you cried for your dead mother. I taught you to drive. I sat through your terrible school plays and pretended to enjoy them. That's not cordial, that's sacrifice. And yes, maybe we weren't as close as I wanted, but that's because you never let me in. You always held me at arm's length because I wasn't her. I tried for 8 years, and you rejected me. Now you're going to reject me again by keeping your apartment while I lose everything." She said, "I could have told your father I didn't want a stepchild." She's right, she could have. She chose to accept the package. But accepting a package doesn't mean the package owes you. I was a child. I didn't choose to be part of her life. She chose to be part of mine. That choice doesn't create debt. The guilt and the grief. Examining my part. I felt the guilt. I examined it. Did I keep her at arm's length? Yes. My mother died, and no one could replace her. That wasn't cruelty. That was a 10-year-old protecting his memory of his mom from being overwritten. Was that wrong? I was a grieving child. I didn't choose to lose my mother. I didn't choose to have a stranger come into my house and try to take her place. I did what children do. I protected what I had left of her. Was I obligated to love my stepmother because she married my father? Is a child's healthy boundary a debt to be repaid later with real estate? She kept quantifying, 8 years of raising you. As if parenting were hourly labor that generates invoices. My biological mother didn't invoice me for the 8 years she got. She loved me because I was hers. My stepmother loved my father and tolerated me. Those are different things, and they generate different obligations. Namely, none. The question I had to ask. There was something I'd wondered about for a long time. That night, I finally asked, "Did Dad know you felt this way? Like I owed you for raising me?" She paused. A long pause. "Your father and I discussed it. He agreed that you should take care of me if something happened to him. He expected you to be a son to me. Then why didn't he put that in his will? Why didn't he leave me a letter saying, 'Take care of your stepmother'? Because I would have respected his wishes. But he didn't say that. You're saying it. After he's gone. Father left no letter asking me to care for her. No will clause. No instruction. A man who documented everything left this undocumented. Either he assumed, or he knew that our relationship wasn't what my stepmother would later claim. His silence speaks louder than her demands. My father, who left detailed instructions about his funeral, his passwords, his preferences for his belongings, left no instruction about me caring for his wife. The absence of instruction became its own message. She didn't have an answer for that. The extended family, choosing sides. After that dinner, my stepmother reached out to relatives. My father's siblings, cousins, people I saw at holidays. She told them I was abandoning her after everything she did for me. Some sympathized with her. She did raise you. You should help her. Family takes care of family. Others knew the truth. My father's sister, who'd watched me grow up, said, she was adequate, not exceptional. She doesn't get a medal for not abusing you. Being present isn't the same as being a parent. The family split along lines of who knew the actual history versus who just heard the simplified version. Stepmother raised ungrateful child who now won't help her. She said, I was there when your mother died. No. She arrived 2 years later. She didn't see me cry at the funeral. Didn't hold me the first night alone. My father did that. She showed up when the worst grief had passed and took credit for helping with a wound she never saw raw. The real mother's memory, what she can't take. I thought about my biological mother. 8 years of memories, fading but real. She loved me absolutely, not as an obligation. She would have given anything for more time with me. She didn't get it. Cancer doesn't negotiate. My stepmother got 8 years that my mother was robbed of. And now she's claiming those years as a debt I owe. It felt like theft twice over. My mother's death stole her time with me, and now my stepmother was monetizing the replacement. My biological mother is more present to me than my stepmother ever was. A woman dead 20 years means more than a woman who lived in my house for 8. My stepmother couldn't change that, couldn't compete with a ghost. Her frustration is understandable. But understandable doesn't mean I owe her my apartment. The offer, what I could give. I offered what I could. I wasn't trying to be cruel. I'll help you find a financial advisor. I'll help you with job applications. I'll contribute to your expenses while you stabilize, $300 a month for a year. But I'm not giving you my apartment. That's my security, my future. I worked for it. It's mine. She rejected everything. I don't want handouts. I want what I'm owed. 8 years of raising you is worth more than your apartment. You're getting off cheap. I offered help, money, job assistance, financial planning. She wanted none of it. Only the apartment. Because this was never about need, it was about feeling owed. She feels owed a certain level of gratitude she never received. The apartment was supposed to prove I was grateful. But gratitude doesn't require property transfer. She never understood that. The final conversation, saying what needed to be said. I met her one more time. I tried to find closure. I appreciate that you were there during my childhood. I know it wasn't easy taking on a grieving kid who didn't want a new mother. But we never bonded the way you're now describing. You know that. I kept distance. You accepted the distance. We were polite cohabitants, not mother and son. I'm sorry my father is gone. I'm sorry you're struggling. But my apartment isn't the solution. And claiming it as payment for 8 years of cohabitation isn't fair. It's transactional thinking about something that was supposed to be family. Her response cut deep, even though I expected something like it. It was family. You were the one who never accepted that. You were the one with the dead mother shrine in your heart that I could never touch. I tried to be your mother and you wouldn't let me. Now you want to punish me for your rejection by keeping your apartment while I suffer. Fine. Keep it. Keep your memories of a woman who's been dead 20 years. I was the one who was actually there. You were there, I said. But being there isn't the same as being a mother. I'm sorry I couldn't give you what you wanted. But I'm not sorry for keeping what's mine. Update 1, 3 months later. The aftermath. We haven't spoken in 3 months. The silence is heavy but maybe necessary. I hear through family that my stepmother sold the house. Too much mortgage, not enough income, she couldn't maintain it on her own. She moved to a smaller condo in a cheaper area. She's managing financially, not thriving but surviving. She got a part-time job at a retail store, which must be hard for a 54-year-old woman who hasn't worked in years. I feel sympathy. I really do. This isn't the retirement she imagined. She thought she'd grow old with my father in that house, comfortable and secure. Instead, she's alone in a condo, working retail, dealing with grief and financial stress simultaneously. But sympathy doesn't change my answer. I didn't cause her situation. I can't solve it by giving away my security. She's told everyone in the extended family that I abandoned her after everything she did for me. Some believe her. Some know better. I've stopped correcting the narrative. Those who know, know. Those who don't matter. Update 2, 6 months later. Processing the guilt. 6 months of silence now. The guilt comes in waves. I think about whether I should have tried harder as a kid. Should 10-year-old me have been more open? More willing to let her in? But I was a child grieving my mother. I didn't have the emotional tools to accept a replacement. That's not a failing, that's development. Children don't process loss the way adults do. She wanted me to love her like a mother and pay her like an employee. Both at once. I couldn't do either, and I won't do the second to compensate for the first. I talked to a therapist about it. She said something that stuck with me: you don't owe anyone a relationship they didn't earn. And you definitely don't owe anyone property for a relationship that never formed. Your stepmother did her job, being present in your childhood, but that job was part of her marriage to your father, not a contract with you. You were a minor. You couldn't have agreed to a contract. The idea that you now owe payment for care you never requested is not a reasonable framework for family. That helped. Update 3, 9 months later. The photo on the wall. I put up a photo of my biological mother in my apartment. It's something I never did at my father's house. It felt disrespectful to my stepmother. I was always careful about that, walking on eggshells around the memory of a dead woman, protecting my stepmother's feelings. Now there's no one to offend. My mother smiles from the wall, frozen at 35, forever young. She never aged past that photo. She never got gray hair or wrinkles or the chance to be a grandmother. She missed my graduations, my first job, my apartment. She missed everything. My stepmother is 54 and alone. I am 28 and building. The dead mother is more present than the living stepmother ever was. That says everything about what our relationship actually was, regardless of what my stepmother claims it was. Update 4, 1 year later. Finding peace. It's been a year now. A full year since my father died, since my stepmother demanded my apartment, since I said no. I still have the apartment. Still have complicated feelings about my stepmother. Not hate, not love, something unresolved that might always be unresolved. Some relationships don't get tidy endings. Some people exit your life with things still unsaid, and you learn to live with the ambiguity. I've heard she's doing okay. Stable, at least. The retail job became full-time. She made friends at work. She's adapting to her new life, smaller and harder than she expected, but manageable. I'm glad she's not suffering. I never wanted her to suffer. I just didn't want to sacrifice my future for her present. The photo of my mother still hangs on the wall. I talk to her sometimes, not supernatural, just processing. It helps to say things out loud. She wanted my apartment, Mom. Said she raised me like you would have. But she didn't. Nobody could. You were gone and she was there. That's not the same thing. The photo doesn't answer. Never does. But I feel something like peace, the peace of keeping what's mine, honoring who's gone, and refusing to pay a debt that was never owed. Final thoughts, what I've learned. I think about what I actually owe. Gratitude for the presence, however limited, maybe. She was there when I needed an adult in the house. She didn't fail me in the ways that would have been worse. She showed up to school events. She helped with homework. She drove me places. Those things matter. But gratitude doesn't convert to property. People who raise children, biological or step, do so knowing the return is the relationship, not real estate. You raise a child hoping for connection, for love, for a bond that lasts beyond their childhood. You don't raise a child as an investment that matures at age 18 and pays out in apartments. My stepmother wanted both, the credit for raising me and the payment for raising me. Life doesn't work that way. My stepmother raised me from age 10 to 18. She cooked, cleaned, attended events, did the tasks of mothering. When my father died, she wanted payment, my apartment. 8 years of my life, she said. I replaced your mother. But she didn't replace my mother. Nobody can replace a mother. You just survive her absence. My stepmother filled a space in the house without filling the space in my heart. That wasn't her fault, and it wasn't mine. It was just grief doing what grief does. I don't owe her my apartment for being present during my childhood. I was a child. I didn't hire her. My father married her and I was part of the deal. Married people don't get to invoice each other's children for caregiving years later. She wanted me to love her like a mother and pay her like an employee. Both at once. I couldn't do either, and I won't do the second to compensate for the first. My apartment is mine. My mother, my real one, would be proud that I built something. My stepmother will never be proud of anything I do because I'll never be grateful enough to satisfy her. That's okay. Some relationships aren't meant to survive the man who connected them. My father died, and so did any obligation to pretend we were something we weren't. I keep my apartment. I keep my boundaries. And I keep my mother's photo where my stepmother's approval will never reach it. Edit. Thank you all for the support. A lot of you asked if I feel guilty. Yes, sometimes. But guilt isn't always a sign that you did something wrong. Sometimes it's just a sign that you're a person who cares about other people's feelings, even people who hurt you. I cared about my stepmother's feelings for 18 years. I walked on eggshells around my dead mother's memory to protect her. At some point, I had to stop. That's not cruelty. That's boundaries. For anyone else dealing with a step-parent who claims payment for raising you, you didn't ask to be born, you didn't ask to lose a parent, you didn't ask for a replacement. Whatever happened in your childhood was the adult's responsibility to navigate. You don't owe property for care you had no power to refuse. Take care of yourselves. Protect what's yours. And if you lost a parent young, know that it's okay if no one ever filled that hole. Some holes aren't meant to be filled. They're just part of you. Broken heart, bittersweet victory. I kept my apartment. My stepmother survived independently. The relationship ended, but the truth is preserved. In the evening light, my mother's photo hangs on the wall, and I'm finally at peace.